I've always been afraid of the dark. Not in the childish sense of monsters under the bed, but in the bone-deep kind of way. Like the dark is aware of me, waiting for me to let my guard down. That's why. When I moved into this apartment, I kept a small lamp on in the corner of my bedroom. Just one, a cheap, dim thing that gave off a soft glow. It wasn't much, but it was enough. The first night, I slept fine. The second too. But by the third night, I noticed something strange. When I woke in the early hours, around 3:15, the lamp was off. I sat up in a panic, fumbling for the switch, only to find it was already turned on. The bulb glowed faintly, but no light came out. Like it was trying to shine, but the darkness around it was stronger. I replaced the bulb the next morning. Told myself it was just faulty. But the next night, the same thing happened. 15 a.m. The lamp still glowing faintly, like a candle smothered by smoke, yet the room pitch black. And in the corner of the dark, where the light should have reached, I thought I saw movement. By the fifth night, I didn't sleep at all. I just sat in bed, waiting. Sure enough, at 3:15, the lamp dimmed again. The darkness seemed to spread from the corner outward, swallowing the walls, creeping along the floor. I whispered to myself, "It's not real. It's just in your head." But then, a voice whispered back, "Turn it off." My throat went dry. "Well, who's there?" "Turn it off," it said again. This time, closer. I shook my head, clutching the lamp with both hands. My only barrier. The darkness pulsed as if laughing. I bought more lamps the next day. 3 of them. Bright ones. That night, I kept every light on. I sat in the middle of the room, surrounded by circles of yellow glow, daring the shadows to reach me. For a while, it worked. The room stayed lit until 3:15. One by one, the lights dimmed. Not off, not broken, just smothered as before. And with each failing light, the voice grew clearer. "You don't need them. Another lamp went dark. They can't help you." The last bulb flickered. "Let me in." By then, I was sobbing, shaking, begging under my breath. I knew I should run, but I couldn't move. I couldn't look away from that thick, living black pressing against me. When the final lamp went out, there was nothing but silence. And then, in the dark, fingers, cold, thin. Brushing my arm, I screamed. The light came back instantly, bulb humming bright, but the marks remained on my skin. Long, pale smudges like something had gripped me. I don't sleep at night anymore. I can't. I surround myself with lamps, candles, flashlights. My electric bill is insane, but I don't care. Because I know what happens when the lights go out. And I know it's only a matter of time before even the brightest bulb won't be enough. When that day comes, when the last light fails, the dark will take me, and it will whisper in my own voice, finally. I grew up in this house. It wasn't big, but it was old, older than most in the neighborhood. The basement door had always bothered me, even as a kid. It never quite shut right, and when the house settled at night, it sounded like something was moving just beneath it. When my parents passed, I inherited the place. For years, I avoided sleeping here, but circumstances forced me back. Alone. The first week was fine. I kept busy, tried to ignore the feeling that every creak was familiar in a way I didn't want to admit. Then one night, as I passed the kitchen, I noticed it. The basement door, open. I froze, staring at the dark gap that led to the stairs. My chest tightened. I hadn't opened it. I never opened it. I shut it quickly and pushed the chair against the knob, just like I used to as a kid. 2 nights later, I heard it for the first time, a slow, dragging sound, like bare feet on concrete. Coming up from the basement, I gripped my phone, ready to dial someone, anyone, but the sound stopped just behind the door. Silence, then soft, almost like a whisper. "Why'd you leave me down here?" I stumbled back, knocking a glass from the counter. The sound startled me enough to switch on every light in the house. The door was closed. Chair still in place, but the whisper clung to me. I tried not to think about it. But the next night, the dragging returned. Louder, closer, the voice again. This time, sharper. "You said you'd come back." I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But something inside me, a morbid, helpless pull, drew me closer. I pressed my ear to the wood. For a long moment, nothing. Just silence. Then bang. Something slammed against the door with such force I fell back. The chair toppled over. My phone flickered, screen glitching before shutting off completely. I refused to go near that door again. For days, I stayed upstairs, locking myself in the bedroom at night. I thought maybe it would stop if I didn't listen. But on the 7th night, I woke up to a sound that turned my stomach cold. The basement door, hinges squealing, opening. I crept down the stairs, heart hammering. The door was wide open now, swinging gently, as though breathing. From the shadows at the bottom of the stairs, I heard it, that dragging again, slow, steady, then the whisper. Closer than ever. You shouldn't have left me alone. I ran. I don't remember grabbing my keys or my shoes. I just know I left the house behind me, door yawning open, whisper still echoing in my skull. And sometimes, when I pass that street, even from a distance, I see it, the basement door, always open. The first time it rang, I didn't think much of it. Unknown number, 2:47 a.m. I let it go to voicemail. No message. The second time, 2 nights later, it was the same number. Same time. This time I answered. Hello? At first, nothing. Then a faint hiss, like static. I was about to hang up when I heard it. Breathing, shallow, uneven. Who is this? I asked, heart racing, a pause. Then in a whisper, don't. Look behind you. I spun, phone shaking in my hand. The living room was empty. Only the dark window, reflecting my pale face. The call ended with a click. The next day, I showed my coworker the call log. Creepy prank, she said. Block the number. I did. That night, 2:47 a.m., my phone rang again. Different number, I answered on the first ring, static, breathing. Then the same voice, softer this time. Please, stop answering. My throat tightened. What do you want? The line crackled. They're coming through. Click. I didn't sleep. By the 4th call, I recorded it. The phone rang at 2:47. I put it on speaker. Recorder app running, static. Breathing. Then, something else. Whispers. Dozens of them, overlapping. Words I couldn't make out. Like a crowd pressed up against the line. Then the voice. Not one now, many, all saying the same thing. In unison. Behind you. I dropped the phone and bolted for the light switch. When I played back the recording later, my stomach dropped, because in the background, beneath the whispers, was another sound, my own voice, screaming. The last call came 3 nights later. I almost didn't answer, but I couldn't stop myself. My thumb hovered, then pressed. Static, whispers, then silence. Finally, a single word, drawn out, broken. Hello? It was my voice, but it wasn't coming from the phone. It was coming from the hallway. When I first toured the house, I noticed the door at the end of the upstairs hallway. It was old, paint peeling, handle rusted. Storage, the landlord said quickly, brushing past it. Can I see inside? I asked. He shook his head. Been sealed for years, no key. I should have pressed harder. The first few weeks I ignored it. My bedroom was across the hall, and every night I passed that door without thinking. But then the noises started. At first it was faint, scratching, like something small dragging across wood. I told myself it was mice, but the sound grew louder, clawing, pacing, a dull thud against the door, as if something inside was pushing to get out. One night, I pressed my ear against the wood. I froze. There was breathing. Heavy, ragged, just inches away. I jerked back, heart hammering. My skin crawled at the thought of it. Someone, or something, standing right behind that locked door. The next morning, I called the landlord. He sounded irritated. I told you, storage, nothing in there. It's not empty, I said, voice shaking. I hear, he cut me off. Don't listen to it. That's how it gets stronger. Then he hung up. That night, the scratching turned into knocking. Slow, rhythmic, knock. Knock. Knock! I shouted. Who's in there? The knocking stopped. A pause. Then a voice. Faint, childlike. Please, let me out. My stomach dropped. It sounded weak, fragile. I pressed my forehead against the cold wood. Who are you? No answer. Just soft sobbing. I gripped the knob, desperate, but it wouldn't turn. Rusted shut. The sobbing turned into laughter, high-pitched, wrong. I stumbled back, whispering, No, no, no. The next morning, I tried to convince myself it was a dream, until I saw the door. Deep scratches marred the wood around the frame. Fresh, as if something had been clawing to escape. I slept downstairs that night, but even from the couch, I heard it. The thuds, the laughter. At 3 a.m., a crash jolted me upright. I looked up the staircase. The locked door was wide open. Darkness yawned from the frame, deeper than shadow, swallowing the light, and something moved inside it, slowly, crawling. The courtyard was the only thing I liked about the apartment complex. A square of patchy grass, cracked concrete, and an old playground set in the middle. The swing set was rusted, its paint peeling, the chains squealing whenever kids played on it. But most days it sat empty, the whole place too quiet, except at night. The first time I noticed, I was smoking on my balcony around midnight. The courtyard was deserted, shadows stretching long under the lone street lamp. And then creak, creak, creak. The swing was moving, slowly back and forth, back and forth. I squinted, leaned forward. No one was there, just the swing, swaying under its own power. I told myself it was wind, even though the trees around it were still. The next night I looked again. Same time, midnight, the swing moved. Faster this time, I muttered to myself. Wind, has to be wind. But my voice shook and I couldn't look away. On the third night I stayed up on purpose. Leaned on the balcony railing, staring down, waiting. Midnight. The swing began to move, slow, squealing, and then I heard it. A laugh. High, faint, childlike, my stomach turned cold. Hello? I called down, voice cracking. The swing stopped. Dead still. Silence filled the courtyard. I stepped back, heart hammering. After a long minute, I shut the balcony door, locked it, and drew the curtains. But the sound didn't stop. Creak. 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 Right outside my window. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning I went down there. The swing was twisted. Its chains knotted together like something had been spinning in it all night. I asked my downstairs neighbor if she ever heard it. She gave me a look I won't forget. Tired, sunken eyes, voice flat. You hear the swing? She asked. I nodded. Don't look at it. Don't ever look when it moves. Her tone was sharp, almost angry. She shut her door before I could say another word. That night I tried. I really tried. I closed the curtains, buried myself under blankets, covered my ears. But the sound bled through. Creak, 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 and then the laughter came again. Louder this time. I couldn't help it. I peeked through the curtain. The swing was flying high now, chains jerking, metal shrieking, empty. Then for a split second, I saw it, a blur. A shape, small legs kicking, tiny hands gripping the chains, but no face. Just emptiness where a face should be. I stumbled back, slamming the curtain shut. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text, unknown number. It read, "Want to play?" And then silence, until the creaking started again. But this time it wasn't outside. It was inside, from the corner of my room. I hadn't lived in the building long before I met her. My neighbor across the hall. She was quiet, thin as a shadow, always bundled in a gray shawl even in summer. The first time we spoke was in the hallway. She stopped me, leaned close, and whispered, "Don't answer her when she calls." I frowned. "Who?" Her eyes darted toward my door, then back to me. "Your mother." I almost laughed. My mom lives 3 states away. Her expression never changed. "Don't answer. She's been dead for years." I walked away fast, shaking my head. Crazy old woman. Every building has one. That night, I called my real mom just to shake it off. She was fine, alive, chatty as ever. But at 2 a.m., the call came. My phone lit up on the nightstand. The screen said, "Mom." I smiled, confused. Maybe she couldn't sleep either. I answered. The line was static, soft and low. Then a voice. Her voice, baby. But something was wrong. Too slow, drawn out. Like a recording played underwater, I whispered, "Mom." The voice cracked into a laugh. A wet, choking sound. I hung up. The phone rang again instantly. Same name, same number. I turned it face down and curled under the blanket, heart racing. The next morning, I tried to convince myself it was a dream. A nightmare sparked by that old woman's warning, until I checked my call log. 10 missed calls, all between 2 and 2:15 a.m. That evening, when I came home from work, the neighbor was waiting in the hallway, as if she knew. "You answered," she whispered. I swallowed hard. It was just a bad connection. She shook her head. It's not her. It sounds like her, but it isn't. It wants in. I felt my stomach twist. You're insane. She leaned closer, her breath dry against my ear. When she calls again, don't answer, no matter how much she begs. That night I silenced my phone, buried it under a pillow. AM. The vibration hummed against the mattress. I ignored it. Then, faintly, I heard it. A voice. Not from the phone, from the other side of the apartment door. Baby, open up. It's me. I froze. The knock followed. Soft. Patient. Please, sweetheart, let me in. Don't you recognize your own mother's voice? My throat closed. Tears stung my eyes. I wanted to scream, to run, but I couldn't move. Then came the whisper. Right at the crack under the door. I know you're there. I backed into the bedroom, shaking, praying it would stop. The knocking grew harder, louder, until it became pounding. My walls shook, and then silence. The next morning I opened the door. My neighbor's apartment was wide open. Inside, everything was gone. No furniture, no dishes. No sign she'd ever lived there at all, except one thing, pinned to my door with a rusty nail, a scrap of paper in shaky handwriting. Don't answer tonight. When I moved into my apartment, the landlord said it came partially furnished, which was his way of saying old furniture no one else wanted. A crooked dresser, a chipped coffee table, and, strangest of all, a full-length mirror leaning against the bedroom wall. It wasn't mine, but I didn't have the energy to move it. The frame was ornate, cracked with age. The glass had a faint yellowish tint, like it had been smoking for decades, but it reflected clearly enough, so I kept it. The first odd thing I noticed was subtle. When I stood in front of it, I swear my reflection breathed out a fraction later than me. I laughed it off, told myself I was overtired, but every night it got worse. One evening, brushing my teeth, I walked past the mirror. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw something wrong. I froze. In the reflection, the bedroom looked different. The walls were bare. No posters, no lamp, no stack of laundry. Just emptiness, except for my reflection standing there. When I turned back, my real room was the same as always. Cluttered, messy, normal. I forced myself to look back at the mirror. The room behind me, empty, and my reflection was still staring straight ahead. But I wasn't. I had already turned. I shut the light off and went to bed without looking at it again. The next morning, I draped a blanket over it, out of sight, out of mind. That night, I woke at 2:30 a.m. to a sound, fabric rustling. The blanket had fallen. The mirror faced my bed. My reflection stared back at me in the dark, eyes wide open. I wasn't moving. I wasn't even sitting up. But in the mirror, I whispered, "Stop!" My voice cracked. The reflection tilted its head. I froze, heart jackhammering. Then, faintly, it smiled. I scrambled for my phone, snapped a picture, desperate to prove it wasn't just my mind breaking. The photo showed nothing unusual. Just me in bed, the mirror reflecting the same. But when I lowered the phone, my reflection wasn't smiling anymore. It was closer. Halfway out of the frame, I threw the blanket back over it, but the fabric bulged, like something pressed from the other side. The landlord didn't believe me the next day. I begged him to take it away. He shook his head, said, "That mirror's been there since before me. It stays." That night, I locked myself in the bathroom to sleep. No mirror there, safe, until I heard it, a faint scrape, glass against glass. I turned. In the bathroom, above the sink, the smaller mirror rippled, like a surface of water disturbed, and a face leaned through. My face smiling. The first time it happened, I thought it was just a drunk neighbor. One sharp knock, exactly at 3 a.m. I got out of bed, annoyed, threw on a hoodie, and opened the door. No one. The hallway stretched out empty, the buzzing fluorescent light flickering like always. I muttered to myself, "Idiots," slammed the door and went back to bed. The second night, it happened again. One knock, career on the dot. This time I was ready. I yanked the door open fast, hoping to catch whoever was screwing with me, but the hallway was empty. Dead silent. I stood there a long time, listening. Nothing. No footsteps, no whispers. Not even the hum of the lights. By the third night, I felt my nerves fraying. I set an alarm for 2:55 a.m., sat in the dark on the couch, staring at the door, waiting. My heart pounded in my throat. Knock. Just one. I jumped, but forced myself to stay put. I whispered, "Who is it?" No answer. The silence pressed in on me. "Stop messing with me," I said louder, trying to sound braver than I felt. Still nothing. I crept closer, leaned my ear against the door. My breath fogged the wood. I could hear something faint on the other side. Not footsteps. Not breathing. A low murmur like words too quiet to catch. I whispered again, "What do you want?" The murmuring stopped, then a new sound. Something scraped against the door, slow. Fingernails dragging down the wood. I stumbled back, pulse hammering. The next morning I checked the door in daylight. Sure enough, thin, ragged scratch marks down the center, like something had clawed at it. I called the landlord, demanded he check the security cameras. He sounded impatient, said there were none in the hallway. "Probably some kids," he said, but it wasn't kids. Kids don't come every night, and they don't know my name, because the fourth night, the knock came. Louder this time. Not once, 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. I didn't open it. I didn't move. Then I heard it. A whisper. "Right outside. Open up." My chest seized, I said, barely audible. "No." The whisper came again. More insistent. Closer. Right at the crack where the door meets the frame. "Open. Up." I pressed my back against the wall. Eyes wide. Phone in my hand, but too afraid to use it. The knocking stopped. I thought maybe it had gone. Maybe it was over. And then, the doorknob began to turn. Slow, deliberate. I lunged forward and grabbed it, twisting hard, locking it in place. I felt the pressure on the other side, something forcing, pushing, trying to turn it against me. I screamed, "Leave me alone!" And then, silence. I held the knob for what felt like hours. Finally, when my arms shook from exhaustion, I let go. The knob didn't move again. I collapsed on the floor, shaking, waiting for sunrise. When daylight finally came, I checked the door, on the wood. Right under the knob were 3 words, carved deep and fresh, as if written with a knife. "See you tonight." It started so small that I almost laughed at myself for noticing. The recliner in my living room, the old, ugly one that came with the apartment, wasn't where I'd left it. Only a few inches off, tilted slightly toward the window instead of the TV. I shrugged it off. Maybe I'd brushed past it, maybe I just remembered wrong. But the next day it had shifted again, further, facing the hallway now. I live alone. Nobody else has a key. I stood there staring at it. My groceries slipped out of my arms and thudded on the floor. The chair sat there, quiet, innocent, like it hadn't just betrayed me. I pushed it firmly back into place, right in front of the TV. I even measured with my foot, the back legs flush with the rug's edge. Couldn't be mistaken this time. That night, I woke to a faint creak. Not from my bedroom. From the living room, I crept out, phone flashlight shaking in my hand. The chair was turned again. This time, it faced directly down the hallway. Toward me, I whispered, "What the hell?" My voice was so small it barely existed. I wanted to believe it was just settling wood, or my memory, or anything rational. But the next morning, when I came out for breakfast, the chair was against the wall entirely. Pulled back as if someone had dragged it slowly to sit just opposite my bedroom door. I didn't go to work that day. I sat in the kitchen watching it. Hours passed. The chair didn't move. By evening, I thought maybe I was losing it. Maybe I needed sleep. That night, I woke again at 3:12 a.m. I checked the clock. A sound woke me. Not a creak this time. A dragging shh, shh, shh. Something heavy being pulled across the floor. I bolted upright. The sound stopped. The silence was worse. I tiptoed to the door, cracked it open. My heart hammered so loud I thought it would give me away. The chair was gone. I scanned the shadows of the living room with my flashlight, chest tight, breath ragged. It wasn't there. Not by the wall, not by the rug. Then I saw it, at the very end of the hallway, near the front door, facing inward. As if waiting, I didn't scream. I couldn't. I just shut the bedroom door and leaned against it, too scared to move, too scared to blink. In the silence, my phone buzzed. A text. From an unknown number, it read, "Sit." I dropped the phone. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, and then the sound came again. Shk, shk, shk. The chair dragging closer. I pressed my back harder against the door, praying it would hold. The noise stopped. The silence dragged on. I gathered the courage to crouch, to peer under the crack at the bottom of my door. 2 wooden chair legs. Right outside, and then, ever so faintly, the creak of leather as if something unseen had just settled down into it. I've always liked top-floor apartments. No one walking above me, no midnight stomping, no random thuds from upstairs. That was the selling point when I moved into this building last winter. The place was small, a little worn out, but it was mine. Quiet, safe, or it should have been. The first night I noticed it, I thought I was just too tired. A dragging sound, faint but unmistakable, coming from the ceiling above me. A shuffle of footsteps. I froze in bed. My brain tried to reason it out. Maybe the pipes, maybe some animal on the roof. But it wasn't random scratching. It was steady, slow, left foot, right foot, back and forth. The strangest part, my apartment was on the very top floor. The next morning I asked the landlord, "There's no one above me, right?" I said, trying to sound casual. He looked at me like I'd asked a stupid question. "You've got the attic. It's sealed off. No tenants up there." Attic? Storage. Old beams, dust, insulation. Nothing else. I wanted to believe him. I really did. That night, the footsteps came back. This time I heard them around 2 a.m. A slow walk across the ceiling, then a pause directly over my bed. I held my breath, covers pulled to my chest, ears straining, and then 3 knocks. Tap, tap, tap from the ceiling. I whispered, "Hello?" Without meaning to, my voice cracked, pitiful in the dark. Silence. The footsteps resumed, retreating across the ceiling until they faded into nothing. The next day, I told myself it was a dream, hallucination, stress from moving. But that night, I left my phone recording while I slept. When I played it back the next morning, I almost dropped it. At 2:14 a.m., clear as day, came the sound of steps pacing back and forth. Then my own voice, small and trembling, "Hello?" And after a pause, a whisper. Not mine, not human exactly, low, dragging, distorted. The words were hard to make out, but I replayed them again and again until I could swear I knew what it said. "Let me in." I didn't sleep the next night. I sat on the couch, all the lights on, staring at the ceiling. Every creak of the building made my skin crawl. At exactly 2:10 a.m., the air went cold. My breath came out in a faint fog. And then the footsteps, starting in the far corner above the kitchen. Slow, deliberate, getting closer. I couldn't stop myself. I shouted, "Who's there?" The steps stopped. Silence stretched on, heavier and heavier, until I thought my chest would burst. Then 3 knocks again. Tap, 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 directly over my head. I grabbed my phone, called the landlord, put it on speaker. It rang and rang until finally he answered, groggy. "You hear that?" I whispered, pointing the phone up toward the ceiling. He muttered, "What the hell are you talking about?" "It's 2 in the morning." And then he heard it. The line went quiet. Completely quiet. Finally, he whispered back, voice shaking, "You need to get out. Right now." "What?" "I should have told you. That attic, no one goes up there. We had it sealed for a reason. Just get out." "Why?" I hissed. He didn't answer. The call cut off. The footsteps started again. Faster this time, crossing the ceiling like something running, circling above me. I stumbled back, clutching my phone, eyes darting from corner to corner as the sound swirled overhead. Then, silence. And slowly, agonizingly slow, I heard the faintest sound, a click, the attic door latch, just outside my bedroom, sliding open.